It's very
That's
clear.
depressed everybody, sorry.
Yeah. I think it's just concern. I think everyone here really buys into, we all use local services. I think we can see the potholes and challenges and the stress they'll be under, and you don't want anyone to go through that, regardless of whether you know them personally or you don't. And it's just like, everyone wants them to win. I think I'd like to think everyone in the country wants every local authority to win. No one, has a huge amount of disruption, and there's a real phoenix rising from the ashes, because, like you say, nothing's going to exist like it did as such.
And I think, just to put a positive spin on this, not that we've been negative, but I think we're trying to be realistic about the challenges that these organisations face, and talking about how they can help themselves to address those challenges. One of the real opportunities of local government reorganisation is the ability to improve services. There is a real innovation opportunity here, that when you bring organisations together, we can look at new ways of doing things that maybe we didn't do before. We can look at how we can deliver services not just more efficiently but more effectively. New service designs, new ways of working, bringing together different ideas. So there's some real opportunity here as well, and I think that's another layer in my layer cake. That we up till now we've been talking about how do we get to vesting day and make sure that when we flick the switch the lights actually come on, and there isn't just the sort of whoa, 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 and half of them come on and the other half the bulbs explode. It is kind of that is absolutely a requirement. That's the safe and legal imperative. But actually there's a huge opportunity on top of that as well, which is, and what's our opportunity to actually design stuff that's even better than what we're doing right now? And I think that's the piece that we need to keep sight of as well. It comes with its own cost again, because that's additional work. To redesign a service when you're in change is really hard, but it is an opportunity for us. And even it might not be that we redesign the service for vesting day, but creating a capability on vesting day that allows us, is a platform that allows us to flex and change and redesign going forward, is equally important. And again, comes back to how do we keep the people on board, because that's where all the knowledge, where all the skills, where all the ideas are. And so if we are very good at engaging people through this change process, they become the engine room for innovation going forwards.
You beat me to it. I was thinking about, how do you get people excited about this? How do you get them to see a little bit of, yes, it's hard letting go and dealing with grief, but there's a potential inheritance there, so I can go and have a good time. If I'm to sort of liken it to that, I guess, so that people have more of a positive outlook. If they do give a bit extra, they're like, there is something in for me. I've got to live with the outcome, and I want something to be proud of, or a really interesting project, or somebody who's really going to take a massive step into change management, for instance, and go, I'm going to really help us lead that. Whether it's sort of C-suite level or middle management, or even members of staff in the team that are championing stuff. So, what else is there that people can be really mindful of to focus on in terms of positive outcomes, and how to rally other people, because you can't just do it on your own. It needs to be a collective, and a cohort you need some real positive voices out there identifying there's better days ahead.
I mean, no system stands the test of time forever, does it? I mean, the last time these councils went through any proper reorganisation of this scale was at the early 1970s. No one working in local government today would quite seriously argue, oh yeah, this system is working really well, there's nothing we should change about, because that's where the opportunity is, isn't it? But that, as Paul's just said, that involves work in because the people at the top don't have all of the ideas. It's the staff working in the department, the people working in your IT systems going, hold on a minute, this is this legacy system we're relying on for 2 years. It's the opportunity to put in programs that will deliver fundamental change to how those services are delivered, so that local government works for residents for the next 20, 30 years, but also for the people who are working to deliver those services for those residents as well. And that's where the opportunity, if you like, for me, I think lies. And the start of that process isn't, thinking about it probably needs to start now, but the start of delivering that massive program of change probably starts after vesting day. But if you want to seize that opportunity, you've got to be thinking about it at this early stage.
I think it was, for me, it was something that Dom said right at the beginning. It's like you don't go into local government or public service for money. You go in, because you're very passionate about delivering great services for people, and it's kind of tapping into that. This is a new world. It is a new world, but actually it's a world where we've got the opportunity to shape how we deliver great services to our customers. And yes, we have the opportunity to innovate. We have the opportunity to not completely like a blank page, a blank sheet of paper, but we've got this opportunity as individuals to do something different. But I think we should recognise, though, and I know we started with we're going to put a positive spin on this, so I'm going to just spin it back around again. I think we've got to recognise the fact that actually there'll be a lot of people in this organisation who don't want to stay on this bus. They just, it's too much. They're too invested in their current organisation and the way it works, that actually going forward into the new organisation might just be too much of a jar for them. It might just be too much of a stretch in terms of doing something different or being innovative, and that's okay as well. It's okay if you don't want to be on this bus, but as an organisation with people in that space, you need to work with them and support them through that journey, because there is a kind of a bit of a win-win loss here, because you want to support them in their journey and their choice making, because at the end of the day it's a choice that they in some cases it will be a choice that people have to stay on that bus or not, and you want to help them with that, but equally you've got to continue to provide services to the community. So back to Paul's maths, if more people are leaving through the side door, our productivity is going down at an aggregated level, is continuing to go down. And then you've got you've got those people who just can't see the vision. So to your question, Wes, it's that you've got to build that. I know we haven't really referenced it, but if we're talking about sort of change management methodology and ProSci and kind of the ADKAR model, and it's inspiring people about why they would want to stay in the organisation, why they would want to consider thinking about how do we make this even better than what we've got already today, because a lot of the stuff that these guys are doing is great stuff, but they have an opportunity to make it better.
Yeah. And it kind of goes all the way back to the beginning of the conversation. We're talking about what do you do with change design? What can you do now to prepare for this? And so much of this talks into that human change journey. And yes, there's some structural things you can prepare for. You can do some planning. You can start to, some of the good work that will go on early doors, even looking at things like your IT estate and what's going to change on your IT estate and all of that sort of stuff. All good structural stuff that we can do. But one of the most important things we can do is actually starting to prepare people for the journey. Mm-hmm. And Louise mentioned ProSci, ADKAR. That's kind of a big part of the approach that we take, and weaving human psychology into that, and actually how people react to change and uncertainty, and thinking about taking people through that journey of awareness of why I need to change, and then building some desire into why would I want to change. Because without desire, awareness is pointless. I know that there's a change coming. If I don't want to be involved in it, then I'm not actually going to contribute anything. And desire doesn't have to be, as Louise is referencing, it doesn't have to be about this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, or it doesn't have to be this is the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, but it's an understanding of what's happening and a willingness to be involved in it. And then we move on to things like the knowledge of how I'm going to change, the ability to change, which is where some of the systemic stuff comes in possibly, and then the reinforcing of that change. But that's the human change journey, and I think there is so much we can do and so much value in doing that preparation early doors, because it's starting to do things like, as we talked about earlier, equipping leaders to be able to take people through that change. And kind of one of our catchphrases, who's a change leader in the organisation? And everyone points at the senior execs. No. You're a change leader in this organisation. Everybody's a change leader in this organisation. It's equipping people to be able to take others through change, understanding their own change journey, and all of that skill and capability is stuff you can start to put in on day one, because it prepares people for the journey, it makes the journey smoother. And then you can also build into that some of that opportunity, some of that innovation. Different messages will touch different people in different ways. People have different reasons for wanting to do things. Some people will respond to communications in different ways. So it's being able to have that nuanced way of talking to people that actually meets them where they are at. Because it's not about shifting a system or shifting an organisation, it's about shifting individual people. And it's only when you shift all of the people in an organisation that you actually have a successful change. And accepting, to Louise's point, that some of them won't actually want to be on the bus. And that's absolutely fine as well. And you need to help them in making that decision and equip and enable them to do something about it. So that's the stuff that I think, looping back to the change design piece, you can do early doors. You can put a lot of work in. And if you haven't put that work in, thinking about some of the councils that are already quite a long way down this route, it's never too late to start that work, because that is about engaging your people, helping your people understand what's going on, and creating that sort of movement that allows you to get to a place where actually you can deploy successfully on vesting day.